It's coffee time. I am so excited to take a shower. I specifically went to the courthouse today having not taken a shower. I was like, no, I'm just going to let myself look real greasy. I'm going to wear a sweatshirt that kind of still smells like BO. I'm going to wear the pants that I was working on Swords and Stitches in, so they've got like a lot of dirt and stuff all over them. I'm just going to be that guy. And it worked. No one talked to me the whole time. It was great. Actually, no, that's a lie. There was one lady who talked to me because she was gesturing to the entire room and then eventually landed on me. She really wanted a Coke, and for whatever reason, the machines that were in the like juror waiting room needed exact change, which I thought was very strange. So she was to the entire room just being like, does anyone have a dime? Anybody? Does anyone have a dime? And then landed on me and was like, do you have a dime? I was like, I think I have a dime. And I totally did. So then she was like, I owe you one. So maybe tomorrow, if I wind up needing a drink, I'll ask her about that. So today, man, being in that waiting room is at the same time very interesting and also like real boring, right? There's a potential there for you to get a lot done, which is great. Like if you brought work, lots of people just brought study stuff, brought actual work, like not saying the studying isn't actual work, but like, you know, beyond school sort of work. There are people making business calls and stuff, but we're all just like squished into this room, like a couple hundred of us just squished into this area that was too small for us. My name was called almost immediately after I got there. I got there an hour late because I was an idiot and thought that juror parking would be really close. So I'm like driving around in circles around the courthouse going, where is the juror parking? I don't understand. And finally like pulled over, but it took a while because there was like nowhere to pull over, right? So I finally like pulled over and looked at my phone and the juror parking was pretty far away. I was like, what? So parked pretty far away and then walked to the courthouse, which took forever. I was like, man, I needed to get here way earlier. I should have looked at this before. But yeah, I finally got there and I stood in line at the information desk because I was like, I wonder if they'll still even take me. I don't know. So I stood in line, and once I got to the front, I was like, I'm here for jury duty. And the guy was like, go to this room. And I was like, no, but wait, I'm like an hour late. And he was like, go to that room. And I was like, okay. So went up like a bunch of stairs, and because the elevators are broke. Isn't that great? Elevators were broken, which was another wonderful thing. So I went up a bunch of stairs and got to this room, and they acted like I was not even late. Again, I stood in the line, got to the front, and I was like, hi, I'm like an hour late. And she was like, did you fill out the stuff? And I was like, huh? She was like, did you do orientation and fill out the stuff? And I was like, I registered online. And she was like, yeah, that's not the same thing. And like gave me a bunch of paperwork and was like, fill out all of this. I was like, oh, okay. So I filled out all the stuff, and then we were hunky-dory, and I sat down and I was like, okay, I guess I'm in the clear, whatever. And then almost like 10 minutes later, I'm like dozing, right? I brought my 3DS, but I didn't want to like do anything. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna like. 10 minutes after I got there, they started calling names for the first like panel of jurors, and my name was on it. And I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna have to sit here very long at all. That's pretty great. So, yeah, she calls off a bunch of names, like way more than I thought she would. We're all standing up, ready to go, and then all of a sudden she goes, wait, no, that was a false alarm. They don't need you. Sit back down. We were like, okay. So we all sat back down. There was not another panel called for 4 hours. So we had lunch. We were hanging out. I was playing Harvest Moon. I was trying to romance that new hairstylist guy that showed up in town. I was like, all right, you're pretty good looking. Let's do this. And then then she started to call for panels again. And I was like, okay, all right, mentally prepare for this. You look nice and greasy. You're ready. So, she's calling off tons of names for tons of different panels. Nothing's happening. And then she gives us this weird pause and says, all right, I'm going to call out for a panel, but it comes with some conditions. And we were like, okay. So she goes on to explain in like really big detail. This was like a huge thing that was typed up by the judge for her to read off, right? Essentially, tapered down, it was, we need to get people for a 20-day trial. And I was like, bleh! Like everybody in the room was like, what? Losing their minds, right? So she's like, yeah, there's a 20-day trial. Here are all of the possible reasons that you can have to not be part of this trial. If there's any other reason, we need you to, be a possible juror. And like it went on for so long. Obviously, they don't tell you anything about the case unless you're in there being like possibly part of the jury, right? So I never heard about any of the cases that happened today. Spoiler alert, I'm not on a jury. But yeah, she's like, all right, this is going to be like 20 days. And we were like, no. And she starts reading off names. And literally every person that's responding sounds like they're dying inside. She's like, Marie Alvarez. And you just hear, yeah. Every single person sounds like, oh my God, no. Just like, because everybody was instructed, like, even if you have these possible things that would keep you from being part of the jury, you still have to go and tell the judge that, essentially. So it was like, you still have to like take time out of your life. So she's reading off names. She's read off like 10 and then pauses for a really long time. And everybody's like, is that it? And then she goes, false alarm. They don't know what they want yet. So we're going to postpone this until tomorrow. Everybody whose name I just read off, disregard. You are not part of this jury. And the whole room applauds. They're just like, yeah! It's like so excited. It was the funniest thing. Everybody was like whooping, like hollering, just clapping. Oh, it was great. And the lady behind the counter just started laughing at us. She was like, yeah, so we're actually going to put together that juror group tomorrow. So even if you are not part of a jury today, still come back tomorrow. I was like, okay. So I have to go back tomorrow, but I feel like I only have to be there for like a little bit, right? Because typically you are only there for the day. And if they don't call you for a panel, then they're like, you're good. At least that's what everybody else said is the typical routine. So I was like, okay, I'll go back in. But I would be exempt from this jury, fortunately. So I'm like, it's fine. But yeah. So it was, overall, it was interesting. Part of me kind of wishes that I had been on a jury because I could have like, I don't know. I feel like it would be really interesting to be on a jury, And on my way back, I got lost on the way back to the juror parking. That was bad. It's like, I don't know where I'm going. And there was a guy in front of me who had the same like paperwork in his hand that I did. So I ran up to him and I was like, are you going to juror parking? And he was like, oh, yeah. I was like, can I follow you? Is that weird? And he was like, of course you can. And so we wound up talking because he's like IT. He does IT tech stuff. And he was talking about how they have like a new CEO and the old CEO didn't want anything to do with IT, like just didn't want to learn any of the new technology, and so his whole department kind of like got stale, right? And now they have a new CEO who's like, I want all of this stuff to make my life easier technological wise. And so his whole department is like, oh no, like they're relieved because they're finally like useful, right? They finally have a CEO who finds them to be important, but at the same time there are like big deadlines for all of this stuff that they suddenly have to develop for the whole company. And I was like, man, that would be crazy, you know, to get so used to having somebody just disregard what you're doing and then suddenly have somebody who's like, no, you're important. Why haven't you been doing this stuff? We need this stuff now. He's just like, oh, and he's like the head of that whole department. So he's just like, okay, all right. But he was super nice and he was like, what do you do? And I was like, I play video games for a living. And he was like, oh yeah, my girlfriend's son is really into the Call of Duty. I was like, uh-huh. So it was fun. It was a fun conversation and he was super nice. And I got back to my car safely. So that's good. And tomorrow I'll know to get there on time at a reasonable hour. So A+. But that also means I won't be on Daily Bite. I don't think that I'll be on the podcast. Like, unless I get out immediately. Unless they're like, all right, let's put together the jury panel. Okay, see ya. Like, unless that's the case, I get the feeling that we're gonna sit for a while again. Even though there aren't even that many of us left. There's like, I want to say like 30 of us left out of everybody. Everybody else got assigned to a jury. I was like, whew! I think because my name was one of the first ones called, that the computer kind of just like put us to the bottom. Right? Because it was the same with the dude who I walked back with. He was like, yeah, I was in that first group and it was a false alarm. And I was like, me too. And he was like, yeah, we didn't get on a jury. I was like, I know. Did the computer just be like, like, that's all I can assume that happened. But whatever. It was, I can't say that it was bad. It was like, it was kind of fun. The people around me were having interesting conversations. I didn't talk to any of them because I was a greasy slime ball, which was my intention. And, you know, now I get to take a shower and show up tomorrow and be like, I'm actually a clean slime ball. Aren't you guys excited? I'll be like, get out of here. Anywho, yeah, I'm going to go and do that and then go to bed. But I hope you guys had an amazing day and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye. Mwah. Oh, kitty.